Yes, just me. So, hello, sir. Am I audible? Yes, am I audible, guys?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. So, just give me a
Am I
minute.
am I audible there?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Good evening, Jayashree.
Yeah. Welcome, sir. Welcome to the session. First of all, uh, thank you so much for accepting our invite and coming to the session. Uh, we are very honored with your presence.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me. And really good to see a lot of people who are interested to be a nerd. That's always happy.
Yes, yes, sir. Uh, Still a lot more people joining in, but
Yeah,
let's don't delay. Let's start the session directly.
sure.
Yes, sir. So first of all, I'm really thank you so much, sir, for coming. And I know you have a busy schedule, but it's really nice that you accepted our invite and came to the session to speak with us.
Yep. Thank you. Thanks for inviting.
Yes, sir. So without any further delay, let's just basic questions. A lot of people have the queries and all this. So before
Sure.
just going any deeper, just I know you're just a little introduction about yourself to all of us.
Okay. I don't know how you guys are feeling right now. Before I get started, I hope everybody is safe. And I hope everybody is taking a lot of adequate precautions. Hope everybody in your family is safe. Just make sure that health is everything, right? So it comes first before anything else. I just want to kind of share that. I know it's you might keep hearing it, but it's just a responsibility that we should all share. Okay. Good evening again, and thanks for having me here. My name is Varadu or Varadarajan. I go by Varad or Varadu. You can address me so. I've spent about I think 20 years now in the industry, and I've basically I graduated out of BITS Pilani. I didn't really see me in IT. But the first job that I landed, first thing is I didn't see me as an engineer, and we all know what that happens, right? Mera beta engineer banega. So parents had me do engineering, and I landed in IT as my first job out of campus, and I spent the first 10 years mostly in IT services. Uh, you know, I would say it's like my passion was never there, right? So it was I was just doing my work, but I was more passionate about education. I think 2010, while I was in the US, I came back to India, decided to join a startup along with a classmate. It was an edtech, like we were building a custom Android version for education. Ground up, we were rethinking what that OS would look like. How do we get content creation? So all the things that you kind of see today in products like Byju's and Vedantus and upgrades of the world. Like we were thinking of it in 2010. We had a product in 2011, a customer in 2011, end of 2011. But we didn't. We did a lot of mistakes as a rookie. People with no business background. Lost a ton of money, and basically I exited that startup in 2012. Post which I got to work. I did a lot of freelancing gigs with Anna University. I taught there for a few months, for a few semesters. I did some consulting with schools and colleges to set up their tech. Later moved on to work with the former education advisor of the President of India, my guru or my mentor in education, who is Professor Marmar Mukhopadhyay. I kind of did a small fellowship with him that kind of opened my eyes to the whole the education side of edtech. And beyond that, I spent probably about a year there, and then moved and took over Cognizant's entry-level training. So I'm sure you would have heard of CTS or Cognizant. So essentially, I redesigned their freshers training when they got into Cognizant, and helped redesign that. I did that for about 4 years till 2018. Then before moving to Microsoft, I actually headed the IT department for a group of colleges, vocational institutions called NTTF. You may not know about it. It's primarily into the skilling space, right? So diploma in mechanical, automotive, industrial. So those it's in the hardware and manufacturing side, right? So I managed the educational technology for them. Right before COVID, we actually started deploying Microsoft 365 and kind of using Teams and so on. And just when COVID stuck, and so right towards the end of the first wave, right in October, I kind of moved to my current role at Microsoft. And so that long story short, it's not a linear journey that I've had. It's basically ups and downs. In Microsoft right now, I take care of two broad areas. One is actually the Microsoft Edge browser in education, right? So I'm not sure if you've heard of Microsoft Edge. Basically, it's a new version of Edge which launched last Jan, which is like built on Chromium, the same open source tech as Google Chrome or Vivaldi or Brave or any other browser that's Chromium based, right? So all the goodness of the modern browsers plus the legacy support with IE, the old Edge. So basically, my team here kind of rethinks as to what a browser should do for education. And my role, or my what I look after, is how do we get people in the education sector, teachers, students, faculty, principals, administrators, policymakers, how do we get them to kind of leverage the tools that we build for education in Edge? And that's one part of it. The second part of it, which I'm more pertaining to this crowd here, is I also kind of started, or I'm starting to set up the developer community for the Edge add-on store. Like you have Edge add-on store, which is basically where you go and download extensions for Edge. That's the official Microsoft add-on store. And the developers that publish to it, so far I think we have about 6,000 odd extensions there. And the developers that publish to it, building a community around and kind of providing that ecosystem where we can nurture nurture the developer relationships as well as the extensions that they build, and make sure that they grow their extensions to a larger user base, right? So broadly, these are the two areas that I look at: Edge in education as a community, and Edge add-ons developer relations or community. So that's my brief background. I'll pause here.
Yeah, that's so much. There's so much of journey, sir. Like, even honestly, I didn't thought like that. I just thought you're working from Microsoft from many years.
No,
So,
I've not even completed a year.
oh, yeah. So I just thought that, but I heard that you had started a startup initially in your initial days.
Yep.
But you said that it's failed. I mean, haven't got, and you lost so much of money.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like as we're currently in our undergraduation, a lot of us people are even thinking like that. Like we have some ideas, we want to implement those to get a broader connections and all these things. Like from your experience, what suggestions would you give for us? Like you have so much of experience now, right? So from your experience, what suggestions would you give for a new entrepreneur?
Yeah, specific to an entrepreneur, right?
Yep.
Okay. Good question. Anyway, I've shared the link to the Your Story article that talks about my journey and the lessons that I learned from there. You can go and look at it in detail. I think this came out in 2013.
Okay.
Uh, uh, see, I think, I mean, first of all, it's entrepreneur is a very cool buzzword today, right? But it takes a lot more than the buzzword to be an entrepreneur. To be very frank, um, while I did work in a startup, if you ask me if I'll go back to a startup again, I would say no. And even like when I was serving the notice period in my previous company and waiting to join Microsoft, I actually tried to run a startup, right? So just for 2 months, I tried to create a career coaching startup and see if I can coach youngsters to kind of excel in their careers, right? So having an idea is probably the most easiest thing to do, right? So I mean, it doesn't take money to think up ideas, right? So you कुछ भी सोचो कि you just just like that you can make up an idea. So ideas are cheap. It's how you go about executing it that matters, right? So you will hear a lot of buzzwords about this framework and that framework, and so to me, at least personally, right? Uh, Take a step back. I mean, frameworks are great. Business models are great, but first thing that should really matter is, like, if you look at almost all the successful startups, right? Um, uh, the core idea behind the startup resonated with, there is a conviction with the person who comes up with it. Like, if you take Facebook, why Mark Zuckerberg created what he created. If you take Redbus, why Funny created what he created, or Funny and team, right? If you take Infosys, if you take any company that actually is grown big as starting as a startup, it's because that there was a conviction to the cause, right? So why do you want to solve the problem? Like, everybody comes and says, I want to create like a robot for a remote doctor, healthcare, but you're not really passionate about the cost. I think the first thing which I would say is, as a thing is, don't get into a startup because it's cool, right? You need to want to become an entrepreneur, not because you have skills to build a product. Today it's very easy, right? Unlike if you want to build a hardware startup, right? It's very difficult. You have to kind of design it, fabricate it, go through multiple rounds. Like, it takes a lot of capital investment to kind of design something physically. But when you're actually, coding gives you that superpower where you can sit in a laptop and you can think of it, right? Somebody has to build a new car. They need a separate welding shop. They need a separate painting shop. They need a separate foundry, lathe, machinery. And the amount of money it takes to build that car, it just prohibits somebody who's a newcomer to start, right? Whereas if you think of somebody who wants to create a website, you can do everything, right from designing to every part of the job. You can do it sitting in one place, right, and with very little investment. So what that has made is, people think that if you know skills, technology skills, you can start up, right? And
Yep.
I'm not saying you can't. All I'm saying is, start with identifying where the conviction lies. You can always try and experiment with ideas, right? Experiment with as many ideas, but if you're really not connected to the idea, my suggestion is, find a caretaker who really is connected to the idea and have them take over it, and basically you start focusing on what matters to you, right? And the biggest learning for me is, you will encounter the toughest situations when you go in the startup route. The only thing that will keep you persevere, that make you persevere, to make sure that you stay in the startup, even though you lose money, even though you're not earning money, you're failing a lot, the only thing that will make you want to continue the journey is your conviction. I want to solve this problem. If you don't have that in the first place, startup is not the route to go.
Oh, that's a great suggestion for all of our youngsters. Thank you so much, sir, for that. That's a good one. Like, we need to have the passion, right, to develop the product, not just an idea and start it off for 2 days and leave it again, right? Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So okay. So obviously, we as in pre-final year right now, like most of us are second years as well. Like,
Okay.
what's your suggestions to students? Like, I, if you got a chance between any product-based company and service-based company, or else if you got a chance to work in Infosys and TCS or a startup, which one would you prefer, Infosys or a startup? Like this is one of the most frequently asked questions in our undergraduation age.
See, I'll
What's your
explain it
opinion?
to you. Okay, let me. Shall we do this thing, right? So, I have a longish answer for this, right? So I'll probably give you an example. Okay. Um, Simplest thumb rule that I follow is whatever you want to achieve in life, you can achieve. Okay. Having a dream to become a president of India, to be the next Steve Jobs, you choose whatever dream you want, right? So basically, it's like this: whichever place you want to go and reach on Earth, you can go. The question is how fast you are going. When are you starting? How fast you are traveling? How consistently you are traveling? How equipped you are for the travel, and how safe you are traveling, and so that when you reach there, you do what you want to do there, right? So it's the same way, right? So the simplest thing is a job. Okay, let me take a step back, right? So anywhere in the world, anybody who is born will start a career at the age of 20 or 21, right?
Yes.
Anywhere in the world, anybody who retires will almost retire at around the age of 60, which means the number of years when you are actually actively building something called as a career is almost like on an average fixed at 40 years. Like you have 40 years from age 21 to age 60, right? You can say I'll be passionate, I'll continue to work. Abdul Kalam ji worked after 60 also. Those are all exceptions. If I'm just saying the general rule, right? If you average out, you will see most people start at 21 and most people retire at 60. So on an average, you have that 40 years. Anybody who has become anybody in the world, whether it is Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, Tim Cook, Satya, anybody, right? Anybody who's become a leader has become that person in that same 40 years. And everybody started in the same 20 years like you do, which means you can have whatever goal you want. A job or a company is a stepping stone in that 40-year journey. My question back to you is, what do you want to achieve at the end of 40 years? You will not have the answer. You will never have the answer. Okay. Think of it like this. If you decide if you're going to launch a rocket, and while designing the rocket, if you decide that the rocket has to go beyond Pluto, you will design it in such a way, you will build it in such a way, you will launch it in such a way, you will make sure that it escapes Earth gravity in such a way, you will even time it in such a way that it will travel to Pluto, right? If you say that I'm happy with just going out to the moon, you will design a rocket that will probably only be designed for the moon. It will not go beyond that. The challenge here is you need to decide some sort of a goal and basically back work. If when you back work it, let's say for example, your goal is to become like a product leader, IT product leader, right? So if you want to kind of build a product for India, something like Aadhaar, something like let's say um, um, revamp our education system, passport system, whatever it is, right? If you feel that there is a cause that you want to solve a problem with your technology skills, first thing you need to know is, okay, where do I need to be? For example, for me, right from my I think sixth standard or seventh standard, I've always been telling that I want to work for United Nations. That's always been my goal. But if you look at my career, does it show you a path to United Nations? It doesn't. Okay, because to get to that destination, it's not necessary everybody will follow the same path. Don't look at templates. Don't look at saying that after 10th standard. So see, till your college, it is all a template. After you finish first standard, you went to second standard to third standard to fourth standard. But the moment you pass out of college, all of you will take different route. If you don't look at others to say what is your goal. If you should be clear on your goal, and for being clear on your goal, you should you should do a lot of experiments. See, Thomas Alva Edison discovered the bulb after 999 experiments that failed. Right? So if you want to be clear on where you want to end up in your career or where you want your career to go towards, you need to experiment with a lot of things. Try painting, try art, try drama, theater, try coding, try entrepreneurship, try building a startup, hackathons, buildathons, try writing a blog, try doing a digital marketing campaign, try as many different things as you can. And the time that you can do it is when you don't have other priorities. For example, right now you're studying, you don't have a priority of worrying about your children, your father-in-law, your mother-in-law, your spouse, your house EMI, your car EMI, going and buying rations, paying the rent, bank loan. You don't have any of the responsibilities right now, which means in the early part of your career, before 28 years, 28 before the age of 28, 29, when you typically your parents will ask you to get married, right? Or you will choose to get married. So before that age, if you don't take enough risks and if you don't figure out your path, um, you will basically be contented with where you are. Like you will say, okay, I'll stay in this job forever, right? So it's not about Infosys, TCS, in Microsoft, Amazon. It's not about the company. It's not about Java, .NET, Azure, AWS. It's not about technology stack. It's not about all of that. What it is about is try out different things. Whichever things you like, bring it close to you, right? Read more of it, know more people of that. Bring it closer to you. I have always loved teaching, and if you looked at my journey since school, I've always been amidst students or educators, always in some form or the other, right? So my simple answer to that is a job or a company is a I wouldn't say variable. I would say it's a tool. For example, um, if you decide to write the next Harry Potter book, right? What you use to write it, you can use a typewriter, you can use MS Word, you can use speech to text, dragon dictation, you can use simple pencil. Those are tools. What you're asking me is which tool is better. What I want you to ask yourself is, what do you want to write?
Right. That's an intelligent answer. Like not the way that I expected. I just thought you will pick any one of these two options. Yeah, that's good. So ultimately, it depends on our interest, right? So that's the point that you are conveying ultimately.
Interest and the
The job,
perseverance to get
yeah,
it done. Like, yeah.
yeah, job that we are doing, yeah. So that's a good suggestion. So, okay, let me ask you one of the most frequently heard questions, I guess. Even you heard more. Like, how can like just tell about yourself? How did you enter Microsoft?
Okay. See, again, if you're looking for a template answer, there is never a template answer, because in my team, I know people entered in different routes. Okay. The simplest advice I will have for you is, number one, know about Microsoft. Be an active part of the student ambassadors program. Be an active part of any kind of student program that Microsoft runs. Understand what Microsoft. Early on, try to understand. You be the person who in your circle. Hey, ask this Anil Sahu. He'll know everything about Microsoft. Ask Avinash. He'll know everything. Ask Veena Pani. She'll know everything. So become that person, the go-to person for everything Microsoft. That's the first thing you can do, right? The second thing that you can do is, that's only knowledge. What skills are you going to build? When you know about Microsoft, you also start learning about in those communities, what are the technology stacks that you're working on. Pick any technology stack, right? If you pick the wrong stack, that's fine. I mean, if you experiment fast enough, you will know that this is not the right technology. This is not my, like, I don't want to work in cloud. I want to work in web development, or I don't want to work web development. I want to work in something else, right? So first is basically being on top of the awareness about what Microsoft does, what all Microsoft does. Second thing is about and when you say being aware, that's where you also see, if you go to social media, if you go to LinkedIn, there's a lot of people in Microsoft who's actually working on something and writing about it, right? The first thing that you can do is understand what they're doing, ask intelligence questions. The questions need not be intelligent at their level. It needs to be intelligent at your level. Like, you are asking a question which you think is the right question. That's all. Don't worry about whether they think the question is right or wrong, right? So start engaging, right? What will happen? Worst thing, they'll not respond, or they will respond and you'll have an engaging conversation. Maybe like that's how Manitej and me got in touch and we are now talking, right? So worst thing, they'll not respond. Best thing is you build relationships, right? So build, the short answer is you need to build relationships. How do you build relationships? Start with awareness, then build some technical skills. Start building a portfolio of you being the best in that technical skill. A simple company, or let's say a product wing of a service company like Finacle in Infosys, or like there are like smaller product companies, right? For them, it is okay if you have a technical skill. For Microsoft, it's not just technical skill that matters, right? You need to kind of also look at problem solving on a whole. Like, see, Mike, while let's say if you are a small app developer, you'll be thinking of how to get the first 10,000 people to download the app. Whereas Microsoft, a developer in Microsoft will be thinking about how to get the first 20 million people to download the app. The complexity of 10,000 is 20 million, right? So you should be able to think in that scale. You need not know how to do it today. Microsoft is, at least the Microsoft of today, it looks at a growth mindset. Whether you have an absolute skill today, right? Whether you have a kind of a inclination to build on the, like you have that fire to learn, and whether you have a kind of a mindset where you are willing to grow. It's like basically you should not be something like, I'm a JavaScript guy, I'll only go into JavaScript. Then Microsoft will not have, it's good for an entry level role, but if you really want to grow, if you look at, I mean, I've looked at many people so far in Microsoft, they've kind of purposefully kind of shifted gears and went into different teams, different technology stacks, just to make sure that they are getting different experiences, right? So simple answer is keep knowing about Microsoft, start building a relationship, in whatever way you can, like, comment, share, have that intelligent conversations on the social media, be part of all the events, be part of all the community outreach, the activities. Like my team wants students to try out Edge, become Edge insiders. Anything and everything that you get an opportunity to be part of the Microsoft ecosystem, start investing. As you're investing, start writing about those experiences, start talking about those experiences. Be seen as an expert of everything Microsoft around the people, with the people around you, right? And then start investing in building skills. What are the skills that Microsoft brings to the market, and how good you are there. I'm not talking just doing certifications. I'm talking doing hobby projects, going more depth in terms of showcasing your skills, right? And in that process, you will be meeting some people from Microsoft in hackathon events, buildathon events, some of the dev communities. Showcase the skill to them, have a conversation with them. Don't approach any conversation by saying, "Yeah, I want to join Microsoft." It doesn't work that way. You need to showcase what you have and what you want to achieve. If some Microsoft employee is actually listening to you and they see that what you have is important to Microsoft, trust me, they will make sure that they will ask you for your CV and refer you. Everybody inside has that passion to bring the right people on board so Microsoft succeeds. So you will get that invitation. Don't worry about that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for the suggestion. We just thought there is a straight way to enter into Microsoft or anything in the student age. So that's one of the main perceptions every student has. You cleared it very nicely. So as you told earlier, Microsoft will help students, communities, and all these things. So as you're a member of the Edge education team, what are the future? Are there any future plans for students so that students can utilize them and can bring their creativity to outside world?
Sorry, come again.
Yeah. Is Microsoft Edge, as you told, you are the team member of Edge for Education, right?
Yeah.
So is Microsoft or Edge is doing any future plans or anything for students?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can try out. Go and try out Edge. There's a lot of, simple things like I'm sorry, I took a call. I lost my train of thought. Sorry about that. Yeah, sure. So simple things, right? So I can share a couple of links and with Money Tej, and you can forward it to the community there. What
Sure, sir.
you can look at like Edge Insiders. There's a insider channel for developer build, Canary build, beta builds. There are a lot of new features that come in there, and you can experiment with those features. Like, I'm assuming that all of you want to be want to build technical skills, right? Tech skills, right? So you can understand by being part of such insider communities. There is also something called as everyday real learning. There is a like, I can again share the link, and Manitej, if you can note it and ping me, I'll share the links and you can share back.
Yeah,
Right.
sure.
So that's a community where it's a Teams channel. You can join and you can interact with other students across the world. Of course, you have the Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador program, right? So other than that, within Edge, if you look at it, there are features like collections which allow you to generate auto references. There are features like immersive reader. Like, for example, you can make Microsoft Edge read a web page for you, translate a web page on the fly. You can actually make, if you are not that comfortable in English, you can actually use Edge to learn English better, right? Pronunciations in different accents, like American accent, English, UK accent, British. So you can use that immersive reader for that. You can kind of use Edge to Edge is a good PDF reader. You can annotate PDFs, like if you're using a lot of PDFs where you're referring to a lot of PDFs, research papers, or some things, you can actually highlight on the PDF. You can take notes. So all this, like, you don't need another third-party tool to work with PDFs, for example. So there's a lot of education features. What I would suggest is if you let me share this link here, right? So you can
Yeah,
go
sure.
to this you can go to this landing page here, and you can actually read about all the different education specific features in Microsoft Edge, right? Our goal is to become the best browser for teachers, school admins, and students, right? So how do we make Edge as the best browser for education, for learning? That's our goal, right? So we are building towards that. So feel free to kind of work with the stable product, or the general GAD product, or you work with the product that's in the insider channel, which is Edge versions, or different builds, right? If you're familiar with this, and try out and give feedback, right? So that's what you can do right now with to engage with Edge. And then there is the hashtag EdgeEDU, which I'm sure Mani would have
Yes.
shared. So use that to kind of share your feedback. Like, if you are creating a TikTok video, or if you're, so not TikTok is now not in India, but yeah, if you're creating a YouTube video of some tips that you are giving for others in Edge, use that hashtag. If you're tweeting, use the hashtag. So those are ways in which you can engage with the Edge community globally.
Yep. So as all students are doing hackathon like projects, so after your project is done, just share your project on Twitter or anything social media, and just use the hashtag @GDU, so that the community can find your project. Right. Yeah. So as you like, just wait.
Yeah,
So
go ahead.
yeah. We use Edge browser. I use personally Edge. I recommend Edge for everyone because it's the one of the good things, one of the best products of that Microsoft did recently, in my opinion. So, what's your favorite feature of Edge? Just pick one.
Uh,
Just pick one.
yeah. I think if I have to pick one, I would say PDF support in Edge, right? And inking, highlighting, annotating. I use it a lot when I'm reading a lot of articles, papers. So basically, able to kind of highlight all the PDF features, right? So I like that a lot. Yeah.
So I
You can solve math equations in Edge now. So
yeah,
very
that's
tough.
recently has pushed into the developer channel. I guess I just
Yeah.
got it, the math solver.
Yeah.
But my favorite feature is smart copy.
Okay.
Yeah, like even in any page, the right click is disabled. We can simply copy the code and we can use it on another tab. The smart copy, like just scanning the image and getting the code, right? I really found it useful. Even I used it in one of my exams where the copy paste is being disabled. So that's one of the main features that I like about Edge. Right. So as waiting for and any like a lot of people, everyone who is in the meeting right now is building something for Edge extensions. Like these are the participants of the hackathon. Like any suggestions would you give to them?
For the building extensions for the hackathon.
Yeah, just any suggestion for the teams.
Yeah, I mean, see, again, see, I see the way I see it. If you are just a budding developer and if you want to see a complete product built, building an extension gives you that end-to-end journey, right? So you actually learn how to kind of right from, let's say, creating a backlog, putting the source code in GitHub, kind of taking it and taking it into Partner Center in Microsoft Edge add-ons, and actually submitting it for review and actually having the Edge team review it, so how your code gets reviewed, getting the feedback, fixing your code for it. And so you get through that entire cycle, and you can do it within the few days of the hackathon. That's the beauty of building an add-on or an extension, right? The build effort is actually very low, right? But the nifty part, the creative part of it is basically there's a lot of cool things that the Edge add-on can do. For example, today you need to register for a slot for vaccine, right? Have you tried doing it using cowin.gov.in? Like how easy or difficult it is? There are like 6-7 buttons shown there. Age group, what type of vaccine, free or paid. But I wish there was another button that is shown there that said, show me only that is available. Don't show me the red ones. Show me only the orange or green ones, right? So I wish an add-on could do that, right? I wish, so there are so many small, really like clever features that you can build with add-ons that you can quickly do. And you just have to look at, take anybody, your father, your mother, anybody around you, observe them, how they use the browser, and you will see that they are doing something inefficiently, right? Or you'll see that something that they're doing which they could do in a different way, which can get to their result faster, right? And that's your opportunity to build an add-on. So you can find a lot of ideas like that, right? So look at your own life in terms of studying, or preparing for exams, taking exams, or doing your homework, whatever it is. If you can find out the pain point that you have, and you probably can build an add-on for it, right? It's that easy. So my recommendation is pick a simple use case. The intent of that hackathon should be, one, get aware about Edge and be part of the insider channel, right? That's the first broad goal that I would put for you. Second is basically, more than writing the HTML, CSS, and the JavaScript that is needed for the add-on, focus on how you can actually publish it, get it reviewed, get it showcased in the store, and then get 100 people to download it and give you feedback, right? You can actually experience the entire journey in 3 to 5 days, right? So that's the advantage, the beauty of it, right? You're not waiting for like building a software, investing in a lot of advertising dollars. You don't have to do that, right? So you can actually build a small thing, and that small thing could be as simple as, when I open a new tab, right on the tab it says, your what is it? Vaccine slot is open. Book now.
Yep.
Something like that, right? So basically, look for small ideas. Focus less on the building part of it, more on the entire life cycle, right? Build it, submit it to an add-on store. Create a tech community account. Be part of the insider community. Publish your hackathon. Get it reviewed. See it on the Edge add-on store. I will work with the internal team to create a feature where we can showcase all your add-ons, right, separately. I'll see if we can do it. But essentially, if you go through the entire cycle, that's more important. Like, rather than just choosing a big scenario and building only 10% of it. Don't go that route.
Yep. So that's one of the good suggestions. So like picking a big problem and not able to solve conveys less intrusive. Like else pick a small idea and implement it 100%.
Yeah, you will get to the end to end. You'll see the business cycle, right? Yeah. Right from having the idea to getting users and getting their feedback and improving your product. You will get the entire cycle.
Yeah. So I hope every member in the video, in the session, hearing this. So it would be better just take a small idea and implement it 100% rather than thinking out of the box and all this. Just pick a good use case that most of us trying to solve. So that's one of the good suggestions. Thank you, sir. And at last, uh, like, do you know about the news that's coming? Like, what do you think, like, about a Internet Explorer being dead? So, in 2022.
Yeah, see, I Internet Explorer is basically like, it's a very old browser, right? So it's lived a long life, and and we have had multiple versions of Internet Explorer beyond that, and then we have even Edge itself had a Edge legacy, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
for a consumer, for a person who's probably not working in an, in a company, right, in an organization, right? Mostly, if you see, it's organizations would have built a lot of systems in the olden days, and they will still require internet for us, right? For people who are using it for, let's say, booking tickets, booking cabs, booking Swiggy, Zomato, learning, doing a course, doing some VS Code. So for us to do all these activities, right? I mean, Internet Explorer is like, anyway, we are not going there. We are going to a modern browser, and most of these platforms also support only modern browsers, right? So
yeah,
I think for us, at least in my understanding, right, none of you will think of Internet Explorer and say, "Oh man, this is gone. My life is doomed." Right? So because you anyways have got Edge, and if not, you are using another modern browser. But anyway, I would recommend you to try Edge, and you'll be surprised.
yeah. That's totally true. I can vouch for it. Like, even initially, I used to use Chrome a lot during my initial days when I bought a new laptop. But after updates, there is a legacy Edge browser, right? About, I guess, 1.5 year ago.
Yep.
It's not that good, to be honest, like, compared to any modern other browser. But the recent Edge has gotten so much better. Like, it's on the fastest in the market right now. Right. That's it, sir, from ourselves and all the guys from who are here. I know I took a lot of time of you. You have a busy schedule.
No worries. I'll if I can stay probably another 10 minutes if you want. If there are
Yeah,
somebody
sure.
else who wants to ask a question,
Yeah,
uh,
definitely.
is
So,
there anybody
guys,
who, like, we
yeah,
can probably take two questions if needed. Otherwise, we can drop off. No problem.
yeah, sure, sir. Guys, so anyone, it is your golden opportunity. Just go ahead. Just turn on your mic and ask your question. Feel free to ask, no worries.
It's probably the first skill that you need to work in a product company. Ask questions.
Yep.
Okay. I think everybody is probably either too busy or have their minds full. No issues. I hope I was able to give some good feedback. I'm not sure if that helped you or not. You can look me up on Twitter, LinkedIn. Manitej has my coordinates. He can share, and feel free to kind of. I love coaching youngsters. I do coach a lot of, like, I've at least, I think, over the last uh, 8 to 10 years, I've coached probably lakhs of youngsters. So happy to kind of mentor you. Um, Feel free to kind of ping me and give me some time, and I'll respond. Yeah.
Yeah, sure, sure. That will.
Excuse
I
me,
guess
sir.
a lot of people are like they're nervous to directly ask the question with you. So I guess, yeah, there is one guy who's asking. Yeah, Chikri, go ahead.
What would a company expect from fresher? Okay, I don't know which company you're talking about. See, I will just give you a simple analogy or a example for you to understand, right? Let's say you have a Mercedes Benz car and you want to hire a driver, and a fresher comes to you and basically says, I can drive that car. What will you ask that fresher? Will you ask them, do you know how to drive? Or will you have a Mercedes Benz car? It's, uh, many lakhs worth, right? So what will you ask that fresher? You have to understand that every company that is doing any work out there is not doing fresher work. It is doing serious business work, right? Which means what they need is a serious skill. And probably in another time I can explain to you, why we have this thing called as freshers. For your kind information, there is nothing called as campus placements anywhere in any other country. Only India has it. Go and find out why. Okay, there is nothing called as fresher jobs or whatever. Not fresher jobs is there, but there is nothing called as like what do you call that? Um, campus placements, campus hiring, right? So that it doesn't happen in any other country, right? So go on to your question, right? If you tell me a company, I can tell you, I won't be able to tell you what is expected out of a fresher, but I'll be able to tell you what skills you need to succeed in that company, right? If you are getting into an IT company, any IT company, number one, you need to know how to problem solve. Like, it's not simple problems. When I started my career, the problems were simple. My first project was to work on a Y2K project where I have to change a year date field which had 2-digit year to 4-digit year and change the logic for leap year, change the logic for calculating age. Look at the problems that I solved as a first time developer. This was in 2001. Yeah. The problem that you will solve as a fresher is not that. The problem that you will solve is, how do I get this Zomato delivery guy to go in the right path so that he can deliver all the orders in time? Look at the question that I tried to solve as my first job. Look at the question that you will try to solve as your first job. The problems are more complex, which means you need to know problem solving, complex problem solving, right? When I graduated out of college, if the problem was I'm feeling, if the problem statement was the user is feeling cold, my solution will be turn off the AC. When you pass out of college, if the user says the problem is I'm feeling cold, the solution is, are you feeling cold because the temperature is cold? Is everybody else feeling cold? Do you have fever? Did you get COVID infected? Did you take a recent test? So you see that the solution is actually more questions, more complex.
Yeah.
So it's not about what the company would expect. It's about what you bring to the table. Look at it like, number one, problem solving, complex problem solving skills. Number two, some skill, whether it is marketing skill, technical skill, technical writing skill, content writing skill. See, a fresher will not be given a task of thinking about a problem and designing a product. No, that has to be your own startup, right? When you start the journey, like when your father is first giving you responsibility in your house, what is he giving? Is he asking you to go and say, here is the 20 lakh rupees, go and get your sister married? Is he giving that responsibility on day one? No. What will he give as a responsibility? He will only say that go and get a matchbox. Buy a matchbox and come. Right? So the responsibility you will get will be small. Okay. It doesn't matter. What matters is, if you are depending, if you're saying because I got the responsibility, I only got to do this, then you are thinking like a failure. You have to say, okay, give me whatever responsibility you give, I will do it like a star. So what is it that you are going to bring that makes you a star? Good communication, good problem solving, good some skill, like technical, non-technical, whatever it is, good skill, right? And that skill is not just good, it is benchmarked with your peers even before you graduate out of college. Like, you are the best content writer. The blog that you wrote got 1 million views. Imagine putting that on your resume. The YouTube that you did got 20 million views or 20K views in 24 hours. Imagine putting that on your resume. It doesn't matter what skill. It only matters how you have benchmarked that skill. Just having a certificate is not a benchmark. If you can give that Mercedes-Benz car to the driver because he has a certificate called driving license, will you do that? Or will you ask for whether he has a good driving skill? That's what you should look at.
So I hope it
Sir,
got
excuse
clear.
me, sir.
Yeah, go ahead, Chakri. Last question.
Sir, what were the problems you faced when you deal with a project or means dealing with a big task, and what are the experiences you felt solving them?
Problems I faced dealing with big tasks. Many of the problems that are technology related or knowledge related, you can easily solve. People related problems are the toughest to solve, right? The kind of problems that I faced, if I tell you, you probably will not be able to eat properly today, right? I have had to find the corpse of my friend's mother from a pile of corpses. Can you imagine? And decaying corpses. So the problems that you face, that you can't, trust me on this. If it is a technology, knowledge, skill related problem, you guys are all smart enough, you guys and girls, you will solve it. It is the people related problem that will trouble you the most. Okay. And there is no, again, don't look for a template answer. The people related problems don't have templates. It's difficult to solve, right? Why is somebody feeling cold versus why somebody else is feeling cold? Two people will give two different answers. Okay. I'll give you one other example of a problem that I faced. I think in 2012, when I quit the startup, I had zero, uh, I didn't have a job. I didn't have a relieving letter. After having worked 10 years, 6 years in the US, lost a lot of money, and I was almost like begging in the streets. And from 2012, at that point, now I've come here, right? So that should tell you how I've solved it. Go look at my LinkedIn profile. It will tell you the journey that I've taken. I've taken pains to write about it, right? Take a look at it. So you will face problems. The toughest problems will be people related, when you have to, either prioritize between people's problems. That will be the toughest thing. So, and no amount of books or people can prepare you for it, right? You should keep reading. You should keep talking to good people who have faced such problems, and learn from their mistakes. But no amount of preparation you do will prepare you for that.
Thank you, sir.
So thank you so much, sir, for answering the student questions as well. I didn't expect it honestly, but you're so generous enough that you asked him to ask this directly. So guys, I'm just sharing the LinkedIn profile of sir. So please, if you just go and watch, just see the profile, right?
Yeah,
So
and if you want me to kind of, this is beyond the hackathon, right? Amanite, this is an offer I'll make for you as an individual, not as a Microsoft employee, right? So
yeah, sure.
If you want me to kind of give a small session on career and how to plan for career, I'll be more than happy to do it for you guys, right? My only ask is try out Edge. That's my Guru Dakshina I'll ask of you, right? Try Edge, get more people to try Edge, and I will spend more time with you to kind of give you insights and inputs on, and I'll share more stories if you want about how things I faced and how I went around. Yeah.
Yeah, that's an that's a great offer, guys. I just leave it to you. Do you want this offer? Like, do you want this?
You decide it offline. You decide it offline.
Yeah,
We'll do it later. Yeah.
Yeah, just for you, like how about the students are thinking, right? So thank you so much, sir. Like even we will definitely plan this session soon. Just let me know when you're free. I will bring the students and all.
Yeah, we'll do it probably a little later in June. We can definitely try.
Yeah, sure, sir, definitely. Just let me know. So again, thank you so much, sir, for coming and just answering our questions. It's a lot for us. Thank you so much.
Bye bye. All the
Bye,
best.
sir. Yeah, thank you, sir. So, are you recording happy? Talk good? No, our recording hours is recording happy, sir. It's just talk 2 minutes and run.